I believe this is a discussion. Rather, I don't like the word discussion, but rather a dialogue. The meaning of that word dialogue means conversation between two people. And it would be good if we could talk over some human problem and go into it very deeply to the very end, and not merely offer opinions, arguments, opposition, and so on. Could we have a good dialogue together? So please, you choose the subject you want to talk about or want to investigate, and let's go into it.
Love.
Why do you think that so many people killed themselves in Guyana last autumn because somebody told them to do it?
The Jonestown Massacre.
Huh?
The Jonestown Massacre.
Why do you think it happened?
The massacre in Jonestown. Why?
The massacre in Jonestown, why? Are you really interested in that?
Sir, could we examine further whether it is actually possible for a mind that doesn't see clearly to bring about a transformation in itself?
Is it possible for a mind that does not see clearly to bring about not only clarity but a deep mutation? Is that possible?
Please discuss attachment and relationship.
Could we talk over together attachment in relationship?
Talk over why human beings get caught in various networks of escape rather than facing or responding to the whole challenge of life.
Why do we get caught in networks of escape?
Why do we get caught up in network of escapes?
What is the challenge of the man-woman relationship?
What is the relationship of...
What is the challenge of man-woman relationship?
What is the challenge between man, woman and man? You should know.
The right place for sexual love.
Is there such a thing
The
as
right
a soul?
place for sexual love.
Is there such a thing as soul?
Is there such a thing as a soulmate? And if so, how do you meet your soulmate?
Soulmates? It's really so quite... How do you meet your soulmate? I'm sorry to laugh, but it's quite amusing.
Why it happens so that even though you have been speaking very long time, 50 years, and it seems to be that so very few people are really understanding deeply what you mean?
You have been speaking for over 50 years. Why is it so few people throughout the world seem to be transformed? Is that the question?
What is the beginning of division and consciousness?
What is the beginning of division and consciousness?
Nature played.
What is the beginning of division in consciousness? Yes. May I, now would you, there are enough questions are asked, so which shall we choose among those questions which will be worthwhile going into. Attachment.
Whether transformation is actually possible.
Whether mind which is clouded, dull, has uncertain, can such a mind transform itself? Now, which question do you want to discuss? Why a mind that is not clear, uncertain, can that such a mind transform itself? That's what you want to discuss, go into. So when we talk about not having a clear mind, what do we mean by that? Do we mean such a mind is conditioned, enclosed, resisting, incapable of being not only free within itself, but also go beyond itself? So we must be clear what we are talking about. A mind that is conditioned, can such a mind free itself? I think that would be a simple way of putting it. Would you agree to that, sir?
Yes.
Do we know or aware that our minds are conditioned? And what do we mean by being conditioned? I'm not giving a talk, so please, we're two friends talking over together, trying to find out seriously whether a mind that is heavily conditioned can ever be free itself. We are saying, what do we mean, asking, what do we mean by being conditioned?
To find that out, though, we have to find out what the origin of conditioning is, right?
In order to find out that, we must see what is the origin of conditioning.
What is the origin, the beginning of conditioning?
We find that a conditioned mind has a pattern to which it always comes back to, and all responses seem to be out of that pattern.
That's one aspect of it. What do we mean by being conditioned? And the gentleman asked there, what's the origin of our conditioning?
Any experience, no matter how enlightening, as long as there's any memory that's retained, a form of conditioning.
Any experience.
Any experience. Would we say that human beings, from the very beginning of time, are conditioned by their immediate experiences? Immediate experience of danger, of security, of physical uncertainty, of survival, seeking protection, and not completely finding that protection, being anxious, afraid, both neurologically and physically. Surely that is the beginning of human conditioning, right from the very beginning.
No, sir. I think
No?
You made a jump, didn't you? Like there's the primal conditioning, right? Food, clothing, and shelter to be secure physically. This is fairly clear, but when fear comes into that, there's another dimension, a thought with its recollection.
The beginning is
Thought
physical
is the beginning
necessity.
of
The
conditioning.
physical necessity. Human beings, right from the beginning of time, had to have food, clothes, and shelter. in the very searching of it, in the very hunting of it, in the very demanding for food, going through various experiences in acquiring food, there began the conditioning. Conditioning being hunted and hunting. The experience of fear, the experience of uncertainty, the lack of safety, and so on. That is the beginning, obviously, of human mind being conditioned. Physically, most of us have this urge to be protected, find safety, security, certainty. Right? Obviously. So that is the beginning of it.
Isn't it healthy to have an urge to live in safety and security?
Is it not healthy to have such an urge? To have food, clothes, shelter, that's a natural demand of every human being right through the world, whether rich or poor. That's natural. That's granted, but don't let's. And that is being prevented by various categories of division. Class division, national division, religious division, economic division, oil division, and so on, so on, so on. That, please, let's go slowly. That is, physical demand for food and clothes has that, I'm asking you, please investigate together, has spilled over into the psychological field. That is, one has food, clothes and shelter, one needs it. But also one thinks one needs psychological safety, psychological security, psychological dependence, psychological anxiety, and so on, so on, so on. So I'm asking, please listen to this. I'm asking, I'm not stating. I'm asking you to find out if the physical needs, with all their reactions, have not entered into the area of the psychological field. Just find out, sir, find out before you say yes or no. This is important because if we don't find this out, then we mix the two. That is, one needs food, clothes and shelter. With all its problems, with all its reactions, the work, the job, and so on. Now I'm asking, that very same urge, has that entered into the psychological field, the inward field, inside oneself, which says, yes, not only I need protection, physical protection, security, safety, clothes and all that, but also I need somebody on whom I depend, on whom I can find, from whom I can have protection, security, safety. You understand? The same movement has entered into the psychological world. I'm asking.
Is it not a psychological urge to want food or shelter? Is it separated?
Isn't the desire for food and shelter a psychological urge as well as a physical urge?
And we're going to find out. That's what I want to go step by step, sir. One needs food, that's natural, right? The desire for food. But that same desire might have entered into the psychological field and says, I need company. I'm afraid to be alone.
food is itself a psychological desire.
Is it? Is the desire for food, is it psychological desire? I need food. This morning it was very cold when I had to put on a coat. So that's not desire.
What I mean, possibly it is not a psychological desire for you, but is it for normal people, for an ordinary people, a psychological desire too?
We want to find out then, what is the origin of thought in the wrong place? Where does that
It says,
begin?
for us, food becomes psychological need.
For us, food becomes psychological need. Why? This investigates and go into it. Don't answer it immediately. Find out, why do I psychologically need food? You understand my question?
Something else is missing.
Something else is missing.
So food fills that vacuum.
I don't get it.
So may it be that the amount of food, the body needs a certain amount of food, but psychologically I want more than I actually need.
I need sufficient food, but my tongue dictates what kind of food I need, how the most tasty, that becomes psychological, that becomes, so one has to distinguish. This is very simple, all this. I don't know why you're making a fuss about this. So look, we are discussing, we are talking over together as two friends about the problem of being conditioned. Don't forget, please don't go off to something else. Our minds are conditioned by our culture, by our race, by our climate, by our food, by our beliefs, and so on, so on. We are conditioned, our minds are conditioned through education, through experience, through knowledge, and so on. And the question is, can such a mind free itself from its conditioning? That's the real central issue. Let's stick to that and not go off about food and memory, that's knowledge. So we are conditioned by knowledge, which is experience, which is stored up in the brain as memory, thought, all that. By all this we are conditioned. The question is, can we go beyond, can the mind go beyond its own conditioning? You understand this question, sir? It's a very serious question, because there are those very scholarly, very well-known people say that it cannot. You can modify it. You can bring about certain changes within the conditioning, but it is impossible to go beyond, to break through, to be free of one's conditioning. You understand this? This is not just a game we are playing. This is a very, very serious question. So we are saying, are you aware that your own mind is conditioned? This is very important. Please answer my question. Are you aware that your mind is conditioned? No, no.
Only mind
That's the only mind we know. Now just listen carefully, please. When you say that's the only mind we know, are you different from that mind? You understand my question? Look, suppose my mind is conditioned, because I was born in India, educated abroad in England, in France, in Italy, and so on, so on, so on. In their culture, Eastern culture and the Western culture, and part living in America, the Western vulgarism, and so on, so on, so on. So, this mind is conditioned. How do I know, please listen, that it is conditioned? Because you tell me, or I discover, the mind discovers, not I discover, but the mind discovers that it is conditioned by the culture of India, of Europe, and partly, very likely, by the American. Wait, you're not, please follow this for 2 minutes, and then you can ask. How do I know that my mind is conditioned? I've accepted, I've lived that way for 30, 20, 40, 100 years. I've lived that way. How do I know my mind is conditioned?
Because of unhappiness.
Unhappiness? That means if I'm happy in my conditioning, there's no problem.
But we are not happy. Sorrow is coming always.
What's that?
We are not all the time happy. Sorrow is always coming and
So,
coming.
you are aware of your conditioning, sometimes being happy, sometimes being unhappy. Is that it? You see? Go into it, sir. Is that it?
For example, I'm born in Finland and I may feel homesick. So it tells me that I'm conditioned to live in Finland, and that sorrow tells me.
So, you are aware that you are homesick. Is that the indication of your conditioning? That's only a part, right? You are conditioned by your religion. You are conditioned by your literature, the propaganda that's going on, the books that you read.
In relationship, when you're talking with people or
All that, you're conditioned. You are not answering my question. Please be patient with me. I am asking you, how do you realize that your mind is conditioned?
By being alone, by the repetitiveness of it.
What's that?
By the repetitiveness of it.
If I see that it's conditioned by reflecting on it and looking at the thought I'm conditioned, I'm looking, aren't I looking at a thought which is imagination essentially, but I'm not seeing it with any of the senses or with sense.
That is, you see, let me repeat the question, please. What he says. What he says maybe, perhaps it's true. We're going to find out. He says, I think I am conditioned. I think. So, the thinking is separate from being conditioned. Do you understand the difference? I wonder if you understand.
When we think, the very act of thinking the act of memory.
Yes, sir. Thinking is the act of memory, is the response of memory. And memory says to me, I am conditioned. But that is not the actual realization that I am conditioned. See the difference? I think I am riding a camel. Actually, I am sitting here. I think I am conditioned.
Sir, is not the memory itself conditioning?
Well, it's a first see. You first see the position we are in, actually, and then we can proceed step by step. I think I am conditioned, but I'm not sure. So there is a division between the thinker who says I am conditioned and the actual realization that the mind is conditioned. That is, I can think I am hungry, but actually I may not be hungry. Make it as simple as that. Is this clear?
But if you go on thinking,
Huh?
if you go on thinking and think hard enough,
No, my lady, you're missing my point.
no, but if you continue looking at this condition,
Sir, it seems like there's kind of an innate drive to be free.
It's very interesting how you cannot see this very simple point. I think I love you. I may not actually love you. The actual feeling of loving is different from the thought that I love you. Is that simple, clear? Right? Keep to that little, please. Perhaps you would understand this better. So, the realization of being conditioned is different from the idea that I am conditioned. But in what way it is different? One is actual, the other is imaginary. Maybe. I don't know.
The imaginary thing is the only thing I know.
Imagination is all I know.
So, is the tree imagination? No, it's an actuality. You're sitting there, you can touch it. The idea you cannot touch is not as real as the tree. So I'm asking, please have patience with this till you find out for yourself that the thinking, thought imagines or conceives that it is conditioned. But the actual fact of being conditioned is different. Let me put it on the other way. Perhaps you may get it. Thought is the response of memory, right? That's very simple. Memory itself may be conditioned. You understand? It is, obviously. No?
But sir, thought is so devious and so clever that it says that I see.
It's not clever or unclever, just
All right.
be simple, sir. Begin simply and you can work very, very deeply if you want to go into it. I want to find out if my mind is actually conditioned. And I say, yes, it is conditioned because I've lived in India, born in a certain category of social status, born, educated here, there, and so on. So it is, by its very living, it is being conditioned, obviously. Now, can the mind, please listen, can the mind realize that it is conditioned? Or have I to tell the mind that is conditioned? You see the point? If I tell the mind that it is conditioned, then I'm playing with words.
Isn't it to say also that if I tell my mind in thought that I'm conditioned, that really I'm not seeing it directly?
That's right. That's right. Can you see directly that your mind is conditioned?
Sir, if I watch my action in life, and I see that action coming from memory, then I know I'm conditioned.
That's all. That's all. So you realize through action that your mind is conditioned. That is, you say, I'm an American. And you're proud of that because you, etc., etc. Or when the Indian says, I'm an Indian, it's part of his conditioning. When a man says he's Catholic, it's part of his conditioning. For 2,000 years of propaganda that you are Christian and all the rest of it, you are this pressure has been imposed on your brain for 2,000 years. And you say, yes, I believe. So wait, look at it, sir. Look at yourself. So we are asking, can such a mind free itself from its conditioning? That's the basic question. Can the mind, which was born in India, with all the superstitions, all that business, can that mind free itself from that? Obviously it can.
I have to see the actualization of the narrowness and limitations that causes my unfreedom.
No.
I have to actually see the limitations of my conditioning.
That's right. That's right.
So I can change it.
Of course you can change it.
Yes.
The speaker was born in India, with all the conditioning there, I can say with nonsense and drop it.
What is the spiritual world?
Huh?
What is the spiritual world?
What is the spiritual world?
What is the spiritual world? The spiritual world is beyond all conditioning.
If I think that the conditioning, if I think the conditioning is on a spiritual level, or if I think that it is not actually physical, then won't that throw me off?
Of course. But sir, please, you're missing. Go step by step, you will find out for yourself. If you're born in America and you're conditioned to the American pattern of society, all that goes on in America, believing this and not believing that, and so on, so on, so on, your mind, by your education, by your parents, by your friends, your mind is conditioned by the culture in which you are living. That's simple. Now, can you break that down and go beyond? If you want to.
So extraordinary awareness.
No. That doesn't need great awareness. It needs simple observation.
What am I going to do?
Huh?
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
What? What am I going to do with regard to what? Sir, I'm born in France. The French culture, they think they are the most intelligent race in the world. supreme, la France, le Loire, and all the rest of it. And I've been brought up in that. And see what happens. I looked down upon others. I create a division between myself and others. I have a sense of superiority. I'm extraordinarily intellectual because I passed lycée and all the rest of it. And I think I'm better than anybody else. Now, that's my culture. I can break that down.
But sir, that is fairly easy, like with nationality, to break down.
I'm going. You are all so impossible. You don't want to go step by step. So can I drop my French culture, Indian culture, and see what happens?
What you're saying is the conditions of the thing what we're experiencing, which is another conditioning. So our conditioning is from the conditionings that we've already had, and that just reinforces it all the time.
So we are saying, sir, conditioning divides people. You are a Catholic and I'm a Protestant. Right? You are a Baptist, I'm a Lutheran. You are Buddhist, I'm a Hindu. It's so obvious. This division is destroying people. No? 100 years war, 30 years war, all the rest of it in history, you can see it. The Jew against the Arab against the Jew. They're the same people. But one has been conditioned by Islam, the other by Judaism. So they're at it. And you see this phenomenon going right under your noses, and we don't see the absurdity of the cruelty of it, and say, look, for God's sake, drop your nationalism, drop your Judaism and Islam, and let's talk as human beings. They won't. Because they're going back to Islamic law. You follow? Maintaining this division. So one sees this, at least being intelligent, I'll drop it. So, watch it. I drop nationalism, the culture in which I've been born. I don't call myself a Hindu or a Jew or an Arab. I drop that. That's fairly easy. The outward expression of this conditioning is fairly easy to drop. But inwardly, it's quite a different matter. Now, if you haven't dropped the outer, you can't go to the inner. You can pretend you're going to the inner. I don't know if you see that. Because if I must test this, that I have dropped it. You follow? That's the proof of my freedom from that conditioning. I've tested it.
How?
I have tested it by saying I'm not a Hindu. I don't go to their temples, to their beliefs, to their book. No, I put it aside. I also put aside I don't belong to any of that. But which is an actual act, not just a theory. Right? Because I don't want to deceive myself, therefore I'm very clear on that matter. So I now say, I'm conditioned. Am I conditioned psychologically? You understand? You understand my question? Are you? Go on, sirs.
There are patterns of knowledge which we seem to get trapped in. Patterns of knowledge.
So, why have human beings given such extraordinary importance to knowledge? Please listen carefully. Knowledge, which is the accumulation of experience, whether the accumulation of experience of the scientist or of the businessman or of the artist. Why have human beings, please listen to this, find out, why have human beings given such extraordinary importance to knowledge?
Could it be that they don't know where it belongs?
What's that?
Could it be that they don't know where its place is? The actual place lies?
They don't know where its place is. Knowledge works in the physical world. It's useful. It has worked for us.
Because it is necessary life condition.
There seems to be security in knowledge.
What do you mean by knowledge? I insist on going slowly, otherwise you go off on. What do you mean by knowledge?
Accumulated memory.
No, so go into it a little bit. Don't immediately answer. Go into it to know. What do you know?
I know how to act in certain situation in order to get the result which I
Yes,
want.
so you know how to act in certain situations because you have learned previously how to act in that particular situation, right? Right, sir? So, what you know is the past. You have experimented, found, and remembered, and stored up, right? And that has become your knowledge in that field. Like a technician, a plumber is excellent in that field because he's worked and so on, so on, so on, right? So that is his knowledge, which is through skill, through practice, through action, he has acquired certain information about that and stored it up, and that has become the knowledge, right? So knowledge is always in the past. You can modify that knowledge, you can enlarge that knowledge, but it's always in the past, right? Please, go into this very, very carefully because it's really very important for a human being, because if we are always living in the past, as we do, right, which is to act from knowledge, you understand what I'm saying? Please follow this for your own sake. If I have skill, if I'm skillful in becoming a carpenter, a plumber, or a businessman, or a politician, or a scientist, and working along those lines, I have acquired certain information, I've learned certain things, and I know now how to be a good plumber, or a good scientist, or a good carpenter, or a good professor, doctor, surgeon, and so on, which is, I have acquired knowledge. From that I act, right? Right, so that's simple. Now, so knowledge is always in the past, obviously. Right?
Isn't there a form of knowledge, inner knowledge, that goes beyond time, that is actually prior to the condition of being a human being
Yes,
itself?
is there knowledge which is not of time? But I come to that, you see, unless I understand this knowledge, I can't find out the other. You want to jump to the other without knowing this. That is an escape. I refuse to enter into a theoretical world. So I say, now I live, my life is the past. See how strange it is. I live in the past and meet the present, right? The present happening, present incident, the present event, which modifies my past knowledge, and I proceed. So, knowledge is always modifying itself. But having always its roots in the past.
When knowledge is modifying itself, it's in the present that's the present aspect of the knowledge, when it's modifying itself.
When knowledge modifies itself, it is in the present.
But it's modified. I said that. The past meets the present, the past modifies itself, and still it is the past.
While it's modifying, it's the past and the present, you say?
Modifying itself is progress.
While it is modifying itself, it is the past in the present.
Of course, it's the same thing we are saying. So one realizes that all our actions come from the past, or the past projecting an ideal, and acting according to that, obviously. And my knowledge, I am married. I'm not, but I'm married. And my knowledge is based on my experience with my wife. Sexual, comforting, security, and so on, which has become my knowledge, which is my remembrance that she is my wife, or my girl, whatever it is. So, please follow all this carefully. That's my conditioning, right? The past knowledge has conditioned mind, has conditioned the mind. Now the question is, can the mind be free of the known? Knowledge, you understand? It cannot. Please follow this carefully. It cannot free itself from the known because it must know how to get to my home, how to do my job, how to do various necessities of life. So knowledge has its place. Now I say, why is there knowledge continuing psychologically? You follow what I'm saying? I wonder if you get this. Wait. Well, you're all too. I'm describing, you're just following. You don't follow the actuality. You're merely following the description, if I may point out.
But what is the place of the psychological realm? What is the place of the psychological realm by itself?
What place has the psychological realm?
Without memory? Without remembrance? But please, you've asked a question, listen to it. What place has psychological realm without knowledge? Is that it? No, please, you've asked a question. You are going on, you've asked a very good question. You don't stop there, you're moving. What place has knowledge in the psychological world? Right? Now, may I ask you something? Is remembrance of your wife or your husband or your girl, which is in the psychological field, is that love? Huh? Huh? How do you know? You see, you are so eager to answer. That's an idea still, sir. I'm just asking a very simple question. You're not really answering it, or you are trying to, not you, sir, we are trying to evade it. You see, we say knowledge is necessary at a certain point, at certain level. Going home, driving a car, doing your job, being a plumber or a cook or a carpenter or a businessman or a scientist, knowledge there, which is partial, is necessary, right? I'm asking, is knowledge necessary in the psychological field at all? Just listen to the question first before you jump on me.
What do you mean by psychological field?
I'm going to tell you. That is, anger. I get angry. At the moment of anger, there is no remembrance as being angry, right? Have you followed this? At the moment of getting violent, there is no, you don't say I'm angry. It's only a second later, which is the recognition of that feeling which you have had before, right? You follow this, sir? So, the recognition emphasizes, gives strength to the present response, reaction. I don't know if you're following all this. Are you getting tired? You want what? Repeat it?
She said, how can you have anger without thought first?
What?
How can you have anger without thought first?
Is that so? You call me a fool. I get angry. Which is what? I have an image about myself, that I'm a great man or that I'm not a fool, and you call me a fool. The image is the response, which gets angry. Right? You're not quite sure. Wait, I'm going to slow. We are asking, what is the content of the psyche? Do you understand, sir? What is the content of your psyche? That is your psychological world. You ask yourself, if you forgive me, ask yourself, please, what is the content of your psyche? What is the content of your psychological world?
Conditioning. Conditioning.
No, madam. Oh, Lord.
Problem of the world. Address your question, sir.
The sorrowful evolution of humanity.
Isn't the content of your psyche, you believe in God or you are not believing in God? Isn't the content of your psyche that you must be somebody? Isn't the content of your psyche the desire to be happy, the conflicts, the joys, the pleasures, the fears, the anxieties, the greed, the envy, the violence? Isn't that your content of your psyche? That you must achieve enlightenment? That you must meditate in a certain way? That you are an American, or that you are black, that you are white, that you are purple? You follow? Isn't that the content of your psyche, the content of your consciousness?
It's just the result of your past experience again.
Come on, Mela.
The result of your past experience again.
It's the result of your past
Yes,
experience.
yes, that we've said that. So, we are saying, can your psyche, with its content, anger, jealousy, hatred, hurt, envy, greed, all that, can that be free? Can that be totally be emptied? Right? The content of your psyche is I and you. We and they. I, Catholic, you, heathen. Is this whole phenomenon of the world. You don't see this. Is the ideal?
Is the psyche composed of the ideas that we have which separate us?
Obviously, beliefs, your ideals, your concepts, your conclusions, your opinions, all that divides us.
My hurts, my memories, my experience.
Of course, I do. So I'm asking much more, you see, I'm asking a very, very serious question. And there are great many people, please listen to this, great many scholars, writers, philosophers who have given their life to this, and they say it cannot. Accept this condition, make the best of it. Don't be violent, be a little more kind, be this and, but you cannot escape from this prison.
When you ask the question that can the mind be free of its content, then we are conditioned to think that how?
Because the moment you say how, is part of our condition that demands a system.
But there is a question.
Huh?
There is one question along those lines that in freeing, if it was possible to free oneself, would it be done point by point?
I'm going to come to that, madam. The content of my consciousness, my psyche, is the various divisions in itself, conscious, unconscious, anger, not angry, be good and at the same time be violent. There's contradiction, opposition, resistance, desire to go forward and recoil, hurt, all that's my consciousness, my psyche. That is me. I am that. Now, I'm asking, is it possible to take one of these, one aspect of me, one aspect of my psyche, one aspect of my consciousness, take that and unravel it and finish it. As there are so many things in my consciousness, in my psyche, in the self I am, is it possible not to go bit by bit, part by part, but totally? You understand my question? Are you interested in all this? No, please. You understand? Great minds have applied to this. We are fortunate, we are laymen. We are simple people, we are not specialists. We are not great authors, well-known people, just ordinary people. And the specialists have said, impossible. Sir. Just listen, sir. They have said no. And we, laymen, ordinary people, say, yes, let's find out. You know what that means? You don't even see the colossal impertinence on our part. The courage, the denial that they may be wrong. You follow? All that's implied. That you are not willing to be subjugated by specialists, that you are not going to be threatened by these great scholars and intellectuals. You are willing to go against the current. Sir, did you listen to what I've said? Please, sir. Are you willing? Are you in that position?
If there is fear, does that mean we're not?
The other night on television, the interview of great writer and great authority in this country. I won't mention names, don't worry. And he was ascertaining, which is so, it must be, and all the rest of it. And listening to it, one says, why do human beings accept authority? You follow, sir? Why do human beings subject themselves to this enormous weight of knowledge? You're not seeing what you're up against when you really go into this. So can you find out, in spite of what Freud's, Jung's, and all the scholars, intellectual people say, look, I want to find out if this psyche with its content can be completely ended, or must this everlastingly go on? You understand? The Hindus have said life after life. It must be gradually wiped away, life after life. You cannot possibly do this in this life. But you need time, you need many, many, many lives to do this. You don't. And the Christians have also say, you cannot do this, only in paradise you will be, whatever, heaven. When you are resurrected, when you meet your God or your Christ and all the rest of it. It's the same thing. So we are asking, being laymen, non-specialists, ordinary people, is there a possibility of freeing of the psyche, completely putting everything aside, its own content?
Does that mean to end the psyche itself?
Yes.
But sir, without any system, what is the happening in the consciousness when it comes to an end?
What happens to consciousness as we know it when it comes to an end, right? Yeah, what happens? Find out. So, there's a mountain called here Topa Topa, 6,500 feet. You sit here and say, what is it beyond that?
I don't mean, sir, that. I mean that
He means what is taking place.
My mind is able to come an end. So what is needed? I'm not asking for a system. What is needed to be done in my own mind?
First of all, that's the point, sir. First, can you see clearly the facts that your mind is conditioned by your culture? That's a fact. By your religion, by your language, by the food you eat, by your wife or your girl or husband, whatever it is. Can you see that fact?
Sir, it seems to be that we see quite many facts, but we don't see the root of all these conditions.
I'll show it to you in a minute, but you see your two. But first, sir, do you see these facts in your psyche?
You mean all the facts?
Some of the facts, many of the facts. As many as you can. Your anger, your jealousies, your hurts, your anxieties, your fears, your pleasures, your beliefs, your opinions, your judgments, your egotism, your violence, your arrogance, you follow whole of that.
I see that I want to step out of it.
Not you. You are that. You can't step out of it. You see, that's just the point.
If you are that, how are you?
I'm going to show you in a minute. You see, you're always wanting to go ahead without starting.
But sir, the difficulty is there that I don't know if I see all my conditioning.
At least you can see one, sir. Now, take one. What? Take one aspect of the content of this psyche, of this consciousness, of this egotism, which is all the same. So, take one aspect of it, one quality of it, one reaction of it. Go on, sir, take it.
Desire to get enlightenment.
Now, just a minute, sir. You get hurt, don't you? Not physically, inwardly. Right? Don't you get hurt? No? There's a common factor of every human being, right? You are uncertain about it, sir? Get hurt. You call me a fool and I get hurt. My mother says to me, you're not as good as your brother. You're not as clever as your elder brother. So I get hurt. Right? This is a common factor, right? Now, take that one thing and go into it very, very deeply. And see if you can be free from the past hurts and never to be hurt again without resistance. Find out, you see, you don't go into this. If you go into this one thing completely, you may end the whole thing. What?
If you go into one thing completely, you may wipe it all away.
Perhaps.
Sir,
You,
it seems the awareness or the attention itself dissolves it, and you cannot.
look, sir, may I ask you, forgive me, do you get hurt? You have been hurt, not physically. You have been hurt, haven't you? Huh? Well, hey, huh? Yes, sir. Why? What causes this hurt? And who is hurt? Huh?
Like you said before, we had an image of us. We have an image of ourselves. So we get hurt because we are not so good like we thought.
No, ma'am. You get hurt, don't you? We've said yes. Now I said, what is it that is hurt?
One's ego.
Huh?
One's ego.
What is this ego? You don't. All right. I have to tell you and you'll agree. Or disagree. You don't investigate, you don't look. One gets hurt because one has an image about oneself, right? If I have an image about myself as being extraordinary, this and that, a great man and a reputation, blah, 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 and you come along and you say, don't be a fool, I get hurt, right? Right? Which is what? I have an image about myself, right? The image created by all of you, and also created by myself. My image I have about myself, and when you call me a fool, that image reacts. That image gets hurt, right? Now, listen carefully. Can I live without that image? Can I live without any image? That I'm good, that I'm happy, that I must find God, that I must be great success, I must determine. You follow? No image at all. Then nobody can hurt you and you can't hurt anybody. Can you? See the logic of it first, the reason. You get hurt because you have an image. The image created by your parents, by your society, by your friends, and by yourself. Whether the image is small or big is irrelevant. So that image gets hurt when you say something ugly, and it builds a wall of resistance around itself. It doesn't want to get hurt more. And so there's fear, anxiety, a withdrawal. And you see this logically, step by step, and the consequences of it. And you say, well, right, finished. I won't have any, there won't be no image. Huh?
Is that will? Is that an act of will?
No, mere perception. The danger.
We have to be clear perception. Because
You see it, I've explained to you.
Logically, it's easy to see.
Do it. No, if you see danger, you act. If you see a dangerous snake, rattler, you jump, you do something.
Become aware and
No, not aware, don't use the word. Just see the rattler. And the rattler, which is a danger, and getting hurt, image, and you see, it's impossible to live that way, getting hurt, and restraining, fighting, quarrel, you follow? So the whole of that you see clearly, and it's finished.
But only a very small part of people sees that and sees it clearly. Like I understand what you say very well, but a great part of me apparently does not understand it because it goes on doing the same.
Now that's the whole point. So why doesn't it? Why doesn't the whole of you say, yes, that's right, finished? Only a part of you. Just listen, madam, why? You are...
It seems that only a part got hurt.
So when you see a rattler, only part of you acts. Why? Whole of you acts. Why? Why? Why, sir? Because you see mortal danger, right? Danger. You don't see the danger of having an image about yourself, totally. Why don't you see it? You don't see it because part of you says, I like my image. It's nice to have an image. I'm a rather clever chap. I'm rather clever. I look rather beautiful. I like that. Part of me, which is not pleasant, I say, yes, I want to get rid of that. Now, just a minute, sir. What time is it?
10 of 1.
We'll stop in a minute. So, when you hear a statement like this, that the image gets hurt, do you listen to it? Or do you make an abstraction of it, an idea of it? When you tell me you get hurt because you think you're a great man, and I listen to you, because you have stated something which is very important, you follow? And I listen to you. Not only with the hearing of the ear, but also hearing inwardly. The actual fact that the image gets hurt. What we do is we listen, create an idea, and act on that idea, And so we've gone away from the fact. The fact is I have an image, and that will be always be trodden on by somebody much cleverer than me. So I'm always nervous, anxious, fearful, resisting, isolating myself. I see the danger of that. So it's finished. That means I listen with all my heart and mind, with my blood I listen. As you listen to the rattler, right, sir? As you listen with all your energy, otherwise you're going to be killed.
How do you know the rattler will kill you unless you remember that a rattler is dangerous?
Have you ever met a rattler? I have. High in the mountains, you don't remember it. You see the danger there instantly. That's it. So we better stop. So we have spent an hour and a half. What have you understood out of this? Are you free from your conditioning? Even the most simple conditioning, smoking. Being identified with some belief. So that it's like a man who wants to climb the Everest, he must climb life with few things, not carry all his burden.